Well, here's the snowplow I made this past winter for my riding mower. Now, there's all different types of plows people make for the riding mower. Some use 2x4s and plywood. Some use, I saw a guy cut steel with a CNC machine. Some people use pipe in a big 55-gallon drum. And there's even guys that just take a bungee cord and put on a big cardboard box. Here's why I made it the way I did and some details about it. The first big thing I had to decide was whether I was going to make it a fixed blade or be able to rotate it. And I ended up going with fixed position. It's on a 22-degree angle, and I'm happy I did that. I could have made it angled where you pull a pin or pull a lever and you rotate it. This is much stronger, much simpler, and it turns out I rarely need the blade to rotate. For my driveway, I can just go down one side, turn around, go down the other. I'm always pushing it to the side. I don't want to have it flat where I'm pushing it in front of me. I want to just push it away. As far as what I built it out of, I just used pine and plywood. I did use a little bit of steel for the bracket, the mounting point, but everything was stuff I had laying around in the garage or the basement. Everything was free, so it didn't cost me anything. The wood was plenty strong, and it's pretty lightweight. It got a little bit heavy with all the bracing I did on here, but overall it's pretty lightweight compared to steel. And the first thing you'll note is if you're going to buy a plow, they attach a little differently. They'll attach to the front brackets here, but they'll also have a bar that goes all the way to the back and mounts at the back of the plow too, which is actually better. You're getting a mounting point that's on the whole system. A lot of these homemade plows, including mine, only attach to the front two mounting.
This will come off of the plow, off of the mower. I think it'll mount this way because it sits on there nice like that. Yeah, it'll be like this. That's plenty of room to kind of get up. I don't think a 2x4 will work for the middle.
For lifting the plow, that's a good mounting point. I can just lift it up right there and it pivots right on these two bolts down here. As far as the dimensions, it's 48 inches wide and it's 18 inches tall. I probably didn't need to make it this tall because once I start pushing snow this heavy, my transmission starts to whine and the tires might slip, and it's pretty heavy pushing a snow pile this big. So I probably could have made it a few inches shorter. Maybe 12 inches tall would have been fine. Now, as far as strength, I put lots of supports on here, probably more than I needed to. This is 3/4 inch plywood on the front. It probably could be a thinner 1/2 inch. I put a 2x4 on the bottom, a 1x4 on the top, 2x4 vertical supports, and 1x4 and 1x2. I probably didn't need all that. Again, it's not that much force when you're pushing snow. Maybe just here on the bottom, a 2x4 on the bottom, some plywood, and some basic supports. I kind of went overboard. Cardboard, when I was designing it, to make these, get the shape of these braces. I was thinking originally just triangles or boards up and down, and I just took a piece of cardboard and cut it out so that when I lift it, this brace here follows the contour of the hood, so it doesn't hit. There's enough clearance, and I could check it when I built it with the piece of cardboard. So here are the 4 pins, 1, 2, here and down here, and I can they're made with just a piece of steel bar, and this is from a curtain rod, I think, and I welded on a washer, and that holds that in and fits right in there and locks. Now you can see this comes right off. It doesn't need to be 2 pieces like I did, but the pins do work out great. You just put it through and it locks it all in. Now, as far as the lifting mechanism, I originally had an idea that I was going to use a foot pedal, like a cantilever foot pedal, where I would push down and that would have a pulley or something. It was too complicated, so I just did what everybody else does, and I used my lever up here, to engage the blade on my mower, and that's worked perfectly fine. I just pull it, hold it up, drop it, and go. Now, as far as the bottom of this plow, I also used some plastic edging. This is just some stuff we had laying around the yard. It's plastic landscape edging. I put one up on the front and two on the bottom. And again, and that's so it doesn't scrape up the driveway and it kind of doesn't wear out the wood. If I was scraping this along the driveway, it might wear through this. With that plastic edging, it just rides on the pavement. And that's actually worked out really well to preserve the bottom of the plow. The last thing I did was paint it white for protection. I just used some white primer paint, a few coats on it, just so that when water and snow gets on here, it doesn't warp the board and ruin it after the first year, because it is wood. You're going to be out, covered in snow, and then you just park it in the garage all winter. So you want some protection from the water, so that's why I painted it white. The other thing is you definitely need some tire chains. So you can either do what I did, which was make some out of rope, or you can just buy some tire chains. I recommend just going and buying some for 40, 50 bucks. Pain than it was worth, but I have an asphalt driveway. I didn't want to tear it up. Now I'll give you some dimensions and some things about my plow, but if you're going to build your own, you're going to kind of do it your own way. You're not going to make it exactly how this is. And again, I didn't know how I was building it until I started doing it, like how long some of these pins had to be. They're different lengths and different sizes, so you kind of have to figure it out as you're going along, where you need support brackets, where you don't, how it's going to attach. And again, if I were going to build this over again, I would just do two 2x4s and a piece of plywood. That's it. That's all you really need. For this type of riding mower, you don't need some big elaborate, tilting snowplow thing. Two 2x4s and a piece of plywood, 10 inches tall, that's it, with a handle to lift it. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Again, I'm happy I put an angle on it. I'm not pushing it. That wouldn't have worked. I would have bogged down immediately. So you need to push it off to the side, or else you're just going to be getting a big pile of snow in front. I am happy that how strong it is and how it's held up over a year. It looks exactly like I built it. I probably used it a dozen times this year, pushing big piles of snow. The paint and everything is held up great. But if you're at all wondering, do I really need to get a plow? Should I build it? I highly recommend just trying it, something cheap. Piece of plywood, two 2x4s. Give it a try, because I immediately knew when I got out there the first day, this was way better than any snowblower I was going to use. Way faster, way easier. I was just driving down there and I was getting a 4-foot path, as opposed to some 20-inch path that you're pushing your snowblower with. This, I was just driving along in top speed, blowing all the snow off to the side. So I immediately knew this was well worth it when I did the driveway the first time. So again, this is just my version. Everyone has their own version of these snow plows. I kind of went overboard on the strength and the design a little bit. You might not need all these things, like this doesn't have to be lifted and rounded and chains and rope and all that, but you're just going to build it with whatever you have, whatever you find in your garage. Oh, this is the plywood I'm using. Oh, this is the board I'm using. I had some metal brackets, I used that. So the idea is to make it cheap and free and simple. Keep it simple. It doesn't need to be that complicated. So I'll give you some of the plans and dimensions, but again, I'm really happy I did it, so I highly recommend trying to build your own. Thanks. Well, I hope you liked the video you just watched. If you did, feel free to subscribe by clicking the button on this side. You can also check out all the videos I've done, the playlist from things I've built, things I've fixed, home repair, 3D printing, and on this side you can check out a recommended video similar to the one you just watched. And as always, down in the description I'll put a link to my blog, which has more pictures and more information about the video you just watched. Thanks.